All right, Stephanie, if that's who you really are, we know this alien monster could take on any form, so how do I know you're not one of them?
Oh, not so fast, Jack. I mean, that's exactly what an alien imposter would say. How do I know you're not one of them?
All right, good point. Let's each ask each other a question that only we would know.
All right, sure, something about Batman, I guess. So who invented the Batman?
It's a very good question, actually. There's a lot of debate about the true provenance of the Cape Crusader. Now, we all know Bob Kane originally invented him, but it wasn't until Bill Finger came.
All right. So only a human could be that human splainy.
All right,
All right, do me next.
all right, you. I got it. What is your favorite Mission Impossible movie?
Oh, well, I mean, how much time do we have? Like, it depends on whether we're talking about director or actor or team. I mean, there's Brian De Palma with the original, which has a lot of replay value and
Okay.
nostalgia.
Yeah. Just start your own Mission Impossible podcast. I have this wire and flamethrower here, so if you just beer me some blood, we can do what they did in the movie, and then, whoa, that was the flamethrower sound.
I was gonna say, I know that you are the thing because you didn't make a joke when I said "do me next."
Nice.
All right. Well, so this is the horrible idea. We are a podcast about horror movies that is recorded by two people who are not horror experts, but are, just diving in. I'm Stephanie, and that dulcet voice you heard earlier is Jack. Jack, what are we watching this week? What did we watch this week?
This week we watched The Thing, released June 25th, 1982, directed by John Carpenter, screenplay by Bill Lancaster.
Yeah, so the budget on this baby was 15 million and the box office 19.6 million. IMDb gave it an 8.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomato critics 86%, Rotten Tomato audience 92%. I don't know how much store we put in these things truly, but they're all right around the same amount, so there's
Yeah.
consistency at least.
Honestly, the thing that I look at most is like the critics versus audience.
Yeah.
When there's a big divide, then it's usually something interesting in some reason.
Yeah, my favorite was of that was Venom, which had like a super low pretty low critics rating and a pretty high audience rating, which I was like, yeah, this is for fans and audiences. This isn't a movie for critics.
And this is a movie for everyone. That could be anyone. A couple of interesting little trivia facts. Ennio Morricone did the score, who was the same person who did the score as our last film, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. And John Carpenter himself played the Norwegian guy, the head of the Norwegian crew that was in
Those
the
damn Norwegians.
Yeah. This is a very anti-Norwegian film.
I think we both kind of picked this one, but what preconceptions did you have coming into this?
I like most horror that was made before 1990. I had seen this on TV, all cut up, probably on Channel 11 WPIX, where they played every movie that they could get their hands on, and I just had like a vague memory of it. What about you?
So I had never seen it, but I've heard a lot about it over the years. I've seen a bunch of other John Carpenter movies. I mean, namely the ones I saw when I was younger were Escape from New York and They Live. So on the less horror-y side. But now I feel like with this and Halloween, I'm really catching up.
Yeah. So let's break down this plot. In an isolated Antarctica research facility, a group of American scientists witnesses a helicopter from a nearby Norwegian base shooting at a sled dog. When they take in the dog, it brutally attacks both human beings and canines in the camp, and they discover that the beast can assume the shape of its victims.
A resourceful helicopter pilot and the camp doctor lead the camp crew in a desperate, gory battle against the vicious creature before it picks them all off one by one. Unsure who is human and who is a monstrous duplicate, the crew realizes they must do anything to stop the monsters from getting off Antarctica, even if it means sacrificing all of their lives.
Brava. What general feelings?
Fucking gross. No, it was very fun, but there is a lot of gross out moments in this one. But it was enjoyable. I kind of like a cold movie. What about you?
Yeah, it took me a little while to sort of get in the groove of it, but once it started going, I liked it. I liked the whole crew. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk more about this throughout, but big alien vibes, a bunch of guys, sort of like they're all working class, sort of scientisty people, and yeah, claustrophobic, sort of out in the middle of nowhere, and the paranoia sets in.
Yeah. So I guess we could just jump right into some questions because I have several. And I guess the first one is, would you ever go to Antarctica?
I don't think so. I know a couple of people who've been to Antarctica, and it's so involved. It's so involved to get there, and
yeah, I think we both know a few people that have been there, which is funny.
Well, we live in New York. It's a very hot spot for the world travelers, but you have to get all kinds of shots, and then you have to fly down to I think Argentina, and then take another flight, like a special charter flight down there. And then once you're down there, it's sort of like, that's it. You're there until the next scheduled flight can line up. And
right.
Yeah, it's kind of like my fear. I have two fears that this reminds me of. One is just being stranded in the middle of the ocean with no possible way to swim to safety. And then, just slowly probably dying of thirst that way. And then the other is just being stranded in outer space, slowly floating and floating until you die.
Okay, I would say that Antarctica is definitely way less scary than either of those things. At least to me.
It's true, but it's in the same world.
Sure. So I guess for my part, I totally would go. I was even looking into this before, the pandemic started.
That tracks.
And I would totally do it. But then who knows? Maybe I get down there and then I turn into a thing.
It's true. My question is, would Alien have been better if Kurt Russell was in it?
Well, I guess it depends on which role he would be, or if maybe he's just an extra person. If he's just an extra person, hell yeah. I think that's cool. Although, you don't want anyone that's really gonna outshine Sigourney Weaver, because that's what's so cool about the first one.
It's true.
Is that she's not the person in charge, and she just sort of is the only sensible person that survives. I think it would be really cool to bring him in the second one. Maybe instead of Michael Biehn.
I thought he could
I do love Michael Biehn.
He could play the alien.
He's a little too beefcake to play the alien.
Nice. Next question.
Yeah, so is a flare plus a stick of dynamite the best or the worst threat device? I feel like there's such a high risk of blowing yourself up.
It's true, but that's sort of like part of the threat. Like I'm so crazy, I'm going to kill us all.
Okay, so we're leaning on best threat device.
I think so. You get that long, sort of fuse sticking out. It's very cinematic.
Yeah, I mean, I know, Kurt Russell clearly hadn't seen that episode of Lost yet where the guy blows up while he's carrying a stick of dynamite. Um, another question. Who, so do you think Childs at the end, spoiler alert, do you think that Childs is a thing at the end?
I don't actually. I know there are like various, like he wasn't sweating or something, or
No, so in the end, yeah, I was reading about this online. In the end, McCready is just like his breath is like giant plumes of like, steam.
right.
And Keith David, Childs has like no fog coming off of his breath. So I don't know. That's like one theory online anyway.
Yeah, I
But
find
he also just might have been like in a different corner while they were shooting him, and maybe it wasn't as cold, or I don't know.
maybe
It might have
just
just been a technical thing.
Kurt Russell runs hot. So how much money did J&B whiskey pay for product placement? Because it seemed like there was a bottle in every single scene.
There was. It was very ever present. I would say $1 million.
Yeah, which is 1/15 of their entire budget. All right, so you've mentioned Keith David a few times. Is he your favorite character? If not, whom is?
Oh man, probably. I love Keith David so much. And he's a. I don't know if this is his first collab with Carpenter, but he becomes one of Carpenter's like guys because he's also famously in They Live. I love him. He's just such a great character actor. He's got that great like sonorous voice. He's got so much like gravitas. And I think he's like the actor. That's why that final dialogue scene is so good because he's playing so well off of Kurt Russell, and I don't think just anyone could have done that because Kurt Russell kind of runs away with the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, which I think leads us into your favorite character.
Yeah, but before I get into that, holy shit, I'm looking at Keith David's IMDb, and it's just like, my finger got tired scrolling because.
Oh yeah, the dude works.
The dude, he works.
Yeah.
Including a stint on 9 episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood from 1983 to 1985, where he played Keith the Handyman.
That sounds kind of scary. I don't know. I think I just associate him with so many like kind of creepy or malevolent roles. But that's the he's that good that he can just fit into Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
He is. Well, yes. I'm all in. I'm all Team McCready. Kurt Russell with a young Kurt Russell with a beard, and yeah, he was just like, he's a cool helicopter pilot with a cool leather jacket, and he was just the man.
Yeah, he rules. I mean, he's got that great like feathered hair. And then he's also a Carpenter guy because he's in Escape from New York.
Yeah.
But what about there were some tertiary characters that were pretty fun. I mean, Wilford Brimley holding it down.
Yeah, like Wilford Brimley, one of those people who just looks weird being young, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and he's not even that young, but just him not being like white-haired, yes, looks odd.
Yeah, I think Kurt Russell was like 29 when he made this, which is...
Oof.
Yeah, I also liked... So there was this character, Windows, who was like the radar operator who was just kind of like, he was like McCready Part 2, like proto McCready. He also had a beard. He wore sunglasses throughout the whole movie, and I just liked him. I don't know, he was cool.
Yeah.
So tropes and cliches. I feel like, this was like Aliens. This was a sort of horror / thriller, like paranoid. So you had someone as a monster, like many Twilight Zone movie and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. You had a lot of the same things as Alien, like
Yeah, like the chest bursting and
right.
And then, we talked recently about when we did the Color Out of Space episode, an alien monster thingy that like assimilates other creatures and like gloms them all together, because there was, the llama drama in Color Out of Space.
And kind of tied in with that is like, this dog is 100% going to die, which is what I thought to myself the minute I saw this dog come.
Yeah. I mean, that's like every single movie.
Yeah.
Horror movie, certainly.
Amazing dog acting, canine acting, unparalleled in my opinion.
Yeah, I really like when the dogs were all like barking at each other in that kennel. I was like, this is some, real drama. I feel it.
Yeah, I kind of liked. There was a scene where like the thing who was in the shape of a dog like went into the kennel and sort of like was acting real weird, and then all the other dogs were kind of like, "Hey, what's going on with this guy?"
Yeah, they were like, "Fuck you, man."
Yeah. And they did a really good job of making a dog seem like it didn't know how to dog.
Yeah, he just looks sort of like confused. And I mean, I would too if like I was just about to burst a bunch of spaghetti out of my skin and then like turn my, flesh inside out.
Yeah, so let's talk about the sort of biology of this weird alien thing.
Ugh,
The thing, if you will.
it's so gross.
So it's like, it's, comparing it to Alien in tone is one thing, but, Alien had Geiger and the whole amazing, special effects that were, kind of, I feel like even now I've never seen something that cool. Or, all right, we may have seen things that were cool, but nothing quite like that level.
So, like, Alien is, I think you had referenced at one point how, like, kind of elegant Alien is. And this is, like, also, I feel like the effects are still, like, top tier for the time, but it's, like, so, like, not elegant. Like, by the nature of the thing is not elegant. It's just
Right.
sort of, like, it grows like weird, it like oozes off the table and then it grows weird little legs and it like
Kind
has
of like a spidery crab at one point, but then it's sort of like
and then it uses its tongue to like move around. I don't know. It's so gross.
Yeah, like the logic of it was kind of confusing. And
Well,
and yeah,
and
it
it's
just
got oh sorry, go ahead.
and yeah, it just like it just looked like a waxy kind of shiny mucusy thing. Whereas, you hear the stories of like Alien where like they were each like sculptures that were made with like real like animal bones and like, it's this like pieces of art.
Yeah, and like, but also, the thing has got some tricks up its sleeve, or in its belly, because, they're about to go do the paddles, and then the thing just like suddenly goes like, "Rah," and opens the belly up, and then chops the guy's arms off. And I was like, what a tricky little hybrid monster
It's a
thing.
little minx. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and like The Color Out of Space, which I think borrowed some things from this movie. And you could also like a lot of movies kind of a lot of directors have cited this movie as like a big influence, and sort of like the paranoia of it and the sort of tone are really like sort of beloved. And you can understand that. But I think it's like, I don't know. You ever have somebody talk about a band that was like the first band that did something, and then you listen to them and you're like, oh, I've heard a lot of people do this a lot better since, but I guess it's cool when you were the first.
Yeah, totally. And like it's also, um some of the creature effects have definitely like not aged super well. I mean, you watch it through the prism of like, okay, this is a movie from the 80s, but they're not they don't look real. But I think that the reason why it endures really is because of the drama and the suspicion and all of that is underneath that. Because if it was just a bunch of like creature effects, it would have been like one of those schlocky '80s movies.
Yeah.
But it's so well regarded, I think, because it's got that kind of simmering paranoia stuff as well.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the special effects didn't seem out of place because it was sort of like the time. Like, because this is not just 80s, this is like 82. This is more like a late 70s movie in a lot of ways. And sort of like
Right.
the pacing and things. So it reminded me also of like Cronenberg. Cronenberg has a lot of like goopy monsters and things. So
Yeah, and like the goopy whatever his name is from Hellraiser, Goopy
Pinhead,
Frank.
Goopy
Goopy
Frank,
Frank.
yes.
Yeah. No, Pinhead is clean and mean. Frank is very goopy though. He's all like,
Yeah, when he
um,
sort of doesn't have any skin. That's
and when he's kind of just like coming up out of the floorboards, like oozing up. Um, so I heard tell that you had a pitch of the week for kind of another Antarctic tale.
well, I don't know how well formed this is, but I'm just thinking. So I'm thinking that somehow Childs and McCready either get off the island being the continent of Antarctica, or just die, and then there's some like things down there, sort of like just waiting for another person to show up. But they've got
Oh,
like,
like in the ice?
yeah, well, like just underneath there, I'm guessing some of them survived, and they've got like all this DNA. So maybe like it's a TV show that's like McCready and Childs and Wilford Brimley, but they're all actually things, and they're just sort of hanging out down there, playing
Oh.
foosball.
No, that's good because, Wilford Brimley had all those tunnels, right?
Yeah,
That's gotta use those for something.
yeah. I feel like this movie left a lot of room for like alien type sequels, like
Yeah, well, because they leave the fate of like multiple characters sort of up in the air. So they could totally come back, just like a Fast and the Furious movie.
yes, that's what this needs to be combined with.
It's
The
all
th-
about family.
but like what the thing will say that about.
Yeah, the Thing family. He's like, I got the spider guy, I got the dog with spaghetti. We're all a family.
Crab thing.
Crab head, stomach, surprise.
A thing that it kept doing that Alien would do too is like kind of like when it was trapped, it would just like sort of jump into the ceiling. And
Yeah,
it's just a
yeah.
weird thing that like kept doing.
It was just
All
like,
right.
"Blah."
So what is the idea horrible, as they say in
Um,
Italian?
that, isolation breeds paranoia. Um, And always, double check, have a spotter if you're going to do the heart paddles, because you never know when a stomach's just going to bite your fucking arms off.
It's true. So we did sort of in our little skit. I said, like have a like word that only you will know. Like we actually did this just in case one of us would be doppelgangered or some Kree super
That's
soldier
right.
took over us. But I don't know how, because the things seem to like understand how to sort of copy the person, like their movements and their speech and stuff, and they seem to know like what to do.
Right, but I don't know that they knew like their personal histories.
Right.
It didn't seem that smart.
Anyhow, it's a good idea, everybody. Sit down with your loved ones and come up with a firm plan for figuring out if one of you is a doppelganger or from the mirror universe, perhaps. Yeah. Final reactions.
Yeah, so I really liked this one. It was fun. I mean, there were, there's a couple moments where it's like a little slow, but I think that's just a factor of it being an early 80s movie. And also just us being now like so trained for sort of like the fast cutting that is part of pretty much every major motion picture now. But I thought it had great tone, great ensemble cast. There were some really cool kind of like creepy moments. Like I think in particular when when Wilfred Brimley is like out in the little cabin and they've kind of stuck him in there because they're like, oh, you're a thing. And then they open up a little window to be like, hey, they asked him a question, I forget. And like in the foreground, there's like a noose. And he just says very like plainly, like, I don't want to be in here anymore. I would like you to let me out. And I was like, oh, it's so...
Yeah,
it was
super creepy.
Yeah, it was very creepy. And just in general, there was some cool, like, I don't know, moments. It was kind of funny, but also kind of cool, like, how he had the little discs of people's blood. We referenced this in the intro, but, like, and then he had, like, the little metal rod, and he was, like, touching it, and that means, like, if the blood reacts, that means you're a thing. Which was nice for like building tension. I don't know. I think overall, those elements are why it still stands up, and isn't just sort of like a creature goopy, thing. That being said, very gross. I will amend scare factor to be gross factor. I wasn't really that scared, but God, there was some really gross, just like oozing body stuff. So I will give it a 6 out of 10 for gross factor, and entertainment factor I'll do a 7. It was fun, and I think the underlying elements really hold up, even through all of the grossness. What about you?
Yeah. I liked the cast, and I liked how they all sort of interacted with each other. And, kind of like Alien, it's like a submarine movie. That's the closest that I can, these things where it's a bunch of people, most of them men, sort of in this confined place where they can't leave, and they start distrusting each other. And it could have gone in some other ways that I would have enjoyed, like maybe a little homoeroticism in there, maybe a little like more. There was some weird race stuff especially with like Childs' character, where everyone was sort of like, you can't trust him, he's too wild. I don't know. There was a thing where I looked up the script, and it was like one of the shooting scripts, and it describes all the characters, but it only describes the race of the black characters, which is sort of a
Right. Well, because white is default, Jack.
Right, white is default,
Yeah.
especially in 1982 Hollywood, I'm guessing. So
Yeah,
scare
sadly.
factor, I'll say a 2, and entertainment factor, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to give it a 7. I'll give it a 6.5. But I liked it, and it's like one of those movies that I'm glad I saw it, just so you sort of have it in your gallery of famous movies that people will bring up.
Well, yeah, and now you can have it in your Letterboxd, which
Yes.
everybody, if you're not on Letterboxd, it's awesome. You could come follow me there. I post a lot because I watch a lot of movies. It's my favorite social media. So that was The Thing. Jack, what will we be watching next time?
Join us next time when we'll be talking about 2020's Freaky. The Vince Vaughn, no spoilers, but interesting take on a few different concepts. Review us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you listen. Don't be scared. It's all going to be okay.
Well, 2020 was pretty freaky. Okay, never mind. If you have any interesting facts about Freaky, or if you have a suggestion for a movie that might scare us, especially like lesser known movies, kind of cult classics that maybe aren't so well known, or especially films by, black or queer directors, or just like non-white dudes. That would be fun. And, let us know on Twitter, or you can email us at thehorribleidea@gmail.com.
And I'm sure that people in your family or your roommates are not shape-changing aliens, so you can sleep at night comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Diabetes.